MotoGP's action-packed September has landed at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli for Chapter 16 in the 2025 World Championship. Seeing a double headers in 2020, 2021 and 2024. The Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino is the last race on European shores until November as the paddock jets off on a world tour to Asia and Australia. Who will master Misano? It's time to race in MotoGP. Good afternoon and welcome back to the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, where our race day number 16 has already started with a bang. If you missed Moto3, don't worry, no spoilers here, but it was an instant classic. One of the best races, one of the best last laps we've seen in 2025. Coming up in a couple of hours' time, we will see if Marco Bezzecchi can complete a fairy tale home Grand Prix for the Italian and the factory Aprilia team after he had a stunning sprint Saturday, pole position, and then taking advantage of a rare slip-up by Marc Marquez, who is still cruising to the MotoGP World Championship this year. It was pole and the sprint victory yesterday for Bezzecchi. We have just about caught our breath after that Moto3 battle here in Misano. And now we focus on what at the moment is the closest and most fiercely fought World Championship chase in 2025. Coming our way next, it's the 22-lap Moto2 battle here on Italy's Adriatic coast. And he might not be a championship contender, but it's fair to say right now the current star of Moto2 is a rookie, Danny Holgado, who stunned the paddock last weekend with a start-to-finish victory from pole position in front of his home crowd at Barcelona. His first victory. Well, it was no fluke at all, was it? Because Holgado has fired his CF Moto Calyx machine onto pole position. It's back-to-back poles for Holgado as well. I mean, 20-year-old Spaniard is currently enjoying a real purple patch in what has already been a very eye-catching and impressive rookie campaign. What about our title contenders then? 42 points separating Manu Gonzalez, Aaron Canet and Diogo Moreira with 7 rounds remaining in 2025. Well, the best of those trio in terms of grid positions here this afternoon is the series leader, Gonzalez. He will start from 3rd place on the grid. Looking forward to this one, 22 laps in Misano, because all of our top 3 title contenders are starting inside the top 6. Canet on the 44 bike is 5th, ahead of Moreira, the Brazilian, who is 6th on the grid. Home hopes resting firmly on the shoulders of Celestino Vietti, who starts from the front row as well. Matt Burton-Lewis going to be in the commentary box, to Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. Crucial phase of the season, Lewis, as we come to the business end of the campaign. Every point precious at the moment of the campaign, and this should be a belter with our 3 title contenders, 3rd, 5th and 6th respectively on the grid. Holgado looking awesome, Vietti looking for another home success. Yeah, this one should be pretty cool.
Yeah, I think you can make a case for anyone on the front 2 rows challenging for victory here. Defending a 38-point World Championship lead, but will he be extending it today? Let's hear from Manu Gonzalez, who's speaking to Jack.
Well, Manu, sun shining down here on the grids. This looks like an interesting one. All of you guys fighting for the World Championship, grouped together at the front. How much is that going to be in your mind today?
I think today will be one of the most fighting races of the season, I think. So we will have to be clever, know where and when to overtake, yeah, for sure, use the mind all the race and stay in the front 2-3 positions is the safest thing we can do. No? I have a good bike, I have a good confidence, so we will try to push, not over the limit, try to maintain there on the race and push in the last laps.
Get those elbows ready, good luck.
Yeah, thank you.
I'm sure he will. Let's hope he's right. And there we are in for the biggest fight of the season so far. Leading the fight is Danny Holgado. Back-to-back pole positions. Perhaps doesn't look to have the same overwhelming superiority that he had in Barcelona last weekend, when we didn't just think but expect him to win the Grand Prix. This time though, it looks very, very close to call. Holgado on pole position then, back-to-back poles from Celestino Vietti, who's on the front row of the grid for the first time since Thailand, right at the start of the season. Vietti, of course, part of the VR46 Rider Academy, who all have such familiarity with this Misano circuit. Of course, took a dramatic victory in the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix last year when the lead changed twice on the final lap. Vietti with his best opportunity of 2025 to claim a first victory.
Yeah, he's been strong all weekend, has Vietti, in front of his home crowd. Fastest on Friday afternoon, fastest on Saturday morning. So yeah, we're expecting big things from the number 13, 23-year-old Celestino Vietti, trying to take his career victory tally into double figures. 9 career wins, 7 in Moto2. To currently 6 in the World Championship. Here is Manu Gonzalez then, looking to build on what is a relatively comfortable 38-point lead in the World Championship. He knows whatever happens here this afternoon that he will go to our flyweight tour of Japan, Indonesia, Australia and Malaysia as the World Championship leader. As we mentioned, it's every point counts big time right now, doesn't it? Further back, Barry Baltus. Well, not too much further back, actually, because he heads row 2, doesn't he, the Fantic Racing rider. One of 2 Fantic Racing riders on that second row. 4th fastest is Barry Baltus. And due a big result, Lewis, no top 6 in the last 3 since that brilliant Brno podium.
Yeah, as good as he was in Barcelona last weekend, a few factors went against him, partly down to himself. The penalty he picked up in qualifying, but also some yellow flags. He felt he should have been on pole last weekend in Barcelona. As it was, he started all the way down in 14th place. He could only recover to 10th. His race pace, though, looks very, very good earlier on in the weekend. He doesn't have championships to think about, although, of course, he's the teammate to this man, Aaron Canet, who most certainly does. Came here with quite literally a pain in the neck after his crash out of the Catalan Grand Prix a week ago, and it showed so far in the weekend. Up until qualifying, he didn't look in any kind of form to fight at the front. Came to Q1 and in true Canet fashion managed to grit his teeth and secure a place on row 2.
Needs to find himself back in P1 in Parc Ferme. Pretty sharpish as a 25-year-old Spaniard, winless in 11 since Qatar. Got a great record here though, Misano. Podiums in 5 of his last 6, second in both San Marino and Emilia-Romagna here last year, and completing our trio of title contenders then on those first 2 rows is Diogo Moreira for Italtrans Racing, big home Grand Prix for the Italian-based team. Still no official confirmation as yet about Moreira slotting into LCR Honda alongside Johan Zarco next year. Seems like that is very much a done deal, but looking to rebound himself on what was a real poor Catalonia. 14th for Moreira off the back of a win in Austria and the 2nd place in Hungary, which really had breathed some fire back into his title challenge.
Senna starts 7th then, of course. Got the teammate to Canet right up there at the front. We've also got the teammate Gonzalez up there sitting in 7th place. Had a lot of potential going into the race in Barcelona, never ultimately exploited that potential after a poor start and a severe lack of grit from around about lap 5 in the Grand Prix. We're not expecting tyres to drop off in the same way this time as we get set to head back down to the grid and get a word from the Diogo Moreira camp. Let's join Jack.
Yeah, and with Francesco Manzone of the Italtan squad. This feels like a big one for the World Championship. Manu just said this is going to be the biggest fight of the year. We know how strong Diogo is in those fights. What have you told him ahead of the race?
Well, I think we should take race by race. In this race, looks like we are strong on pace. And on fast lap, we didn't put the lap together, otherwise we'll be on the front row. But doesn't matter. We need a good start here. All the contenders are close. We know our strong points and also our weak points, and I hope it will be strong all together and good race today. Yeah.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Yeah, it does feel like this is a big race in terms of that World Championship. Just saw Tony Arbolino. He goes from the middle of the 3rd row of the grid. Only the 4th time this year on the Boscascura as the 25-year-old Italian qualified inside the top 10. More on a very special home race livery for Grazini Racing shortly. But he finds a way from 4th place on the grid. He's got podium potential, no question. Barry Baltus for Jack.
Barry, great job yesterday morning. That long run was very, very fast indeed. It must give you some real confidence going into this.
Well, since Friday morning we are quite fast here, and yeah, for sure the The pace was good, but the race is always different, and it's nice to be in the second row. We'll try to get the profit of this and try to make some nice move and enjoy in the front.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Thanks, Jack. Thanks to Barry Baltus. You've got to go to the back of the third row to find Jake Dixon. Bit of an up and down weekend so far for Dixon. It started very well when he was second quickest on Friday morning, but there's been a couple of crashes to follow, including one in Q2 at turn 6 yesterday. Dixon then on the Mark VDS racing machine goes from the back of the third row.
It was ridiculously close qualifying session though. Less than a quarter of a second covered the top 10. Down to Arenas in 10th place. Next behind that is the young man on that banner whom we just saw on the grid, David Alonso, who starts from 11th place. Well, if anyone knows how best to tame this circuit on a Moto2 bike, it's Sam Lowes. He's now giving his thoughts to Jack.
Yeah, that's exactly why I've grabbed him. You know a thing or two about going around this Misano circuit, Sam, so what's the key to victory here?
Well, no, he's obviously an awesome track, and I think honestly there's going to be no tyre drop like maybe some years in the past. The tyres look like they're going to hold in. So it's going to be a strong race, strong rhythm till the end, and yeah, sector 3 and 4 as always. You know, if you can find a way to be fast through there, save a bit the energy towards the last 5 laps, and be strong into turn 14. Or we saw in Moto3 the last corner move, which I think will be hard on a Moto2 bike, so it'll be interesting to manage. But Jake's got really good pace for our team. Obviously some of the other guys as well. I think it'll be a great race.
Cheers, Sam. Enjoy it.
Cheers. Thank you.
Yes, Sam Lowes, a Moto2 winner here back in 2021. And when he, of course, was very much part of the Mark VDS Racing Team project here. Of course, he still is very much part of the Belgian project over in the World Superbike Championship. We just saw there, didn't we, 10th on the grid, Albert Arenas for a Taljet Gresini Moto2. Sporting One is a beautiful tribute home round livery for the Gresini Racing Team. Arenas C-Hedge row 4 ahead of David Alonso and the Yuma Sasaki. So we've got 2 former Moto3 world champions on that 4th row. Alonso, of course, won the Emilia Romagna round here last year. Winner here in 2023 as well. So he knows his way to Parc Ferme, certainly Moto3, around this Misano track.
And another Moto3 world champion on the 5th row, Ethan Guevara, starting from 13th place, who's looked pretty good through practice. Qualifying has often been the weak point for Guevara on board that Boscoscuro. If you want to know what his strength though is, just see where he is at the end of lap 1. He generally rockets up the order.
Yeah, another strong ride, wasn't it, last time out for Guevara. Over the line in 5th place. A real good fight with Manu Gonzalez 7 days ago. It's been a tough 2025 so far for Alonso Lopez. I don't think too many of us thought we'd be coming into round 16, seeing the Spaniard stuck down in 16th in the World Championship. But Lopez, 7th last time out, was his first points finish in 5 Grand Prix. Hasn't really been his year so far for the Spaniard.
What's that special Gresini livery? He'll be sporting here next year.
So your front row of the grid then for this 22-lap race in Moto2 here in Misano. It's your world championship leader, Manu Gonzalez, 38 points clear of his closest rival, Aaron Canet, who starts behind him on the 2nd row. Celestino Vietti, well, he's got massive, huge home support here in front of his home crowd in Misano. But for the 2nd time in 7 days, it's back-to-back pole positions for the new Moto2 hero, Dani Holgado. Can he make it back-to-back wins after success in Barcelona?
Well, Manu Gonzalez said to Jack on the grid that this is going to be the biggest fight of the season. Let's see if he's right. Dani Holgado starts from a 2nd consecutive pole ahead of Celestino Vietti. Front row start for the first time since Thailand. Manu Gonzalez, his 11th front row of the season. Barry Baltus starts 4th ahead of Aaron Canet, who came through Q1, and Diogo Moreira. Senna Agius 7th ahead of Tony Arbolino, who broke the lap record in Q1. Jake Dixon 9th after crashing in Q2. Albert Arenas, David Alonso and Yuma Sasaki on row 4 from Ethan Guevara, and 2022 winner Alonso Lopez. Adrian Huertas completes row 5. Zonta van den Gorberg, Danny Munoz and the in-pain Philip Salach on row 6 ahead of Ivan Ortola, Colin Bayer and Jorge Navarro has a long lap penalty for taking out Salach a week ago. Marcos Ramirez, Mario Aggi and Alex Scridge on row 8 from Joe Roberts. Wildcard Alberto Osora, who has 2 long laps after crashing last time we saw him last season. Darren Binder 27th from Alberto Ferrandez. Another wildcard on the 93. The grid completed by Unai Aradre and Yuki Kuni.
Yeah, it's been a wretched weekend so far. Wretched weekend, and Adrian Fuertas, Jack just informing us, has stalled it on the grid. He's going to have to come off the grid then now. Here's the number 99. Boy, it's a nightmare, isn't it? in the Italtrans Racing team's home round. I'm just going to reference the fact that Marcos Ramirez for American Racing, his lowest qualifying in over 2 years since Silverstone 2023, and Joe Roberts, who's down in 25th on the grid, his lowest qualifying since the Emilia-Romagna round here 4 years ago. Huertas Jack just informing us they've got his Triumph 765 CC 3-cylinder motor fired up as we're on the warm-up. This is how tight it is at the top of the championship. Manu Gonzalez, 217 points collected so far in the opening 15 Grand Prix. 38 he sits clear of Canet. A further 4 back. In third place is Diogo Moreira. Sun is shining here in San Marino as Adrian Huertas just leaves pit lane, or he's just coming to the end of pit lane into our commentary box position. As we just heard, Lewis, no tyre drop in this Grand Prix. Should be an epic battle, so what are we thinking tyre-wise?
Due to that, every single rider on the grid has gone the exact same way. Soft front and super soft rear.
Lovely. Nice and easy for us then here in the commentary box to keep a track of. Aaron Canet, 2 DNFs in the last 4 Grand Prix have really put a bit of a dent in his title challenge. What about Danny Holgado? Out of nowhere, Albert Alonso's stunning success at the Balaton Park to win his first Moto2 round. Boy, did that put a rocket up the backside of Holgado. He did not like seeing his teammates taking all the glory and grabbing all the headlines. And he said it was a big motivation. He has used it. Victories for the Spaniard, who was in a race of his own 7 days ago in Catalonia, led from start to finish as we have the green flag then clearing at the back. What lies in store over 22 laps here in Moto2 in San Marino. It's lights out, we're racing here in Moto2 then in Misano. It's a really good start from second place on the grid body. Home favourite Celestino Vietti. He's going to get the whole shot on that short run down into the first corner. Holgado though, Lopez has gone wide on the run down to turn 1. Vietti it is though, that leads. Holgado second, Moreira's getting busy. Moreira up on the inside of Gonzalez immediately. So Moreira's been the big winner, 6th to 3rd.
And the big loser looked like Canet. He had the poorest start. He's on the outside of Arbolino there into turn 4. Moreira has made progress, Gonzalez then behind him, but Canet has dropped down at least 3 places. He's down to 10th in fact.
Jake Dixon really beaten up coming through turn 6. Tony Arbolino was very, very aggressive going through that 6th corner. So Moreira's already had a great start then to this Misano Grand Prix. Up from 6th to 3rd. Picture perfect start though for Vietti. He could not have dreamt but a launch away from that 2nd place on the grid. He leads in front of his home crowd.
So Gonzalez trying to get a run on Moreira through Tremonto. They're 3rd and 4th. Dixon back to 16th as a result of that off. At the same corner he crashed down in qualifying.
I think it was like a domino effect. Dixon was just caught on the outside of a couple of skirmishes on his inside. He's just gone back into point scoring places. Head of on to Van den Gorberg. Getting on with business, already running a very fast pace at the front of this Grand Prix is Vietti. He's threatening to have a half a second lead at the end of this lap 1 over Polestar to Holgado. Of course, something happened to Arenas there, coming out at 14, didn't he, on the 75 bike.
And it's Canet then up behind them. You'll see him coming to picture there. He just flashes through ahead of Guevara, who has gained places as expected up to 10th. And Lopez, who had a tough job filtering back in after overshooting turn 1 completely. He's running in 11th place.
Yeah, so Vietti's lead is nearly half a second over Holgado at the end of that first lap of 22. Will now tip it right through the right-hander of 3, and this looks like Moreira is trying to set up a move here on Holgado on the brakes into turn 4. He's not going to be quite close enough. He'll like that Rio corner, of course, when he's coming from Brazil.
Gonzalez in 4th place, who did say as long as he's sort of in the top 2 or 3, he'll be pretty happy with that. He's got to just sort of judge himself against where his main title contenders are. He is in a luxurious position where he can just manage that points advantage. Of course, whatever happens from here, if Canet doesn't pass him, he's going to extend his lead over Canet. Of course, Moreira could potentially emerge as his main challenger in the latter part of this season. Moreira, as it stands, would go ahead of Canet into 2nd in the World Championship.
Into 10, this is Tremonto, this crucial right-hander. 2nd gear where you've got to make sure that you've pick up the throttle just at the right time, get the drive grip now for this slingshot down towards Cavone. one of the fastest corners on the Grand Prix calendar. Vietti, well, he will know this Misano circuit. He'll know every little bump, he'll know every little groove, every millimetre of this 4.226 kilometre circuit. He'll know like the back of his hand, won't he, Vietti? Still looking comfortable at the front. Holgado has just chipped away by a tenth, two-thirds away around this lap.
We're going to see what happened to Dixon on the first lap. There we are. It was Canet who was on the inside of him, at least at the, well, one or two riders on the inside of him. We certainly saw Canet, and that fired Dixon all the way to the other side of the curbs and cost him, as we saw, a good 6 or 7 places.
Yeah, that was more than a friendly tap, wasn't it, from Canet on the inside of Dixon. I think they both share the same manager, don't they, as well? So I think Bob Moore will have to be mediator after this the Grand Prix, because Dixon will be frustrated with that one. Holgado has just set the fastest lap of the Grand Prix, 1:34.770. It's keeping the pressure on Vietti himself, also in the high 1:34s. Vietti, Holgado and Moreira, your top three. They are the trio at the moment. They've been able to immediately drop into the 34s on lap 2.
Yeah, the other top 10 runners are all doing low 35s. 35.0 for Gonzalez, Aegis, Baltus and Arbolino, as Holgado favours that wider line through Quercia, which is why he suddenly swoops back across the front of us, as we rode on board there with Danny Holgado. So Vietti, who threatened to bolt on that first lap, hasn't quite done that at this stage. And as we mentioned before the Grand Prix got underway, we're not expecting this to be a race of tyre conservation. They will be going flat out from start to finish.
Well, they are going flat out. Vietti's race record has been absolutely blown to smithereens. A 1:35.468 was the Moto2 race record here in Misano. Well, Holgado has smashed it with a 1:34.7. So this is a real fast, hot pace at the early part of this Grand Prix. There is Senna Aegis. He's locking horns at the moment with Baltus. Tony Arbolino just behind that battle.
Yellow flags were waving at the top of the picture, so someone has gone down through turn 15, just behind the Aegis Baltus battle. We'll try and pick out which name is dropping down the order. It's no one in the points positions at the moment. It's Adrian Huertas, who was late started this Grand Prix, and he didn't get very far into it.
Yeah, he started from pit lane, having installed it on the grid, and now he's in the gravel trap. Vietti, Holgado, Moreira, Gonzalez, your top four, nothing between them at all. They've all just set 1:30.8 on that lap 3 of 22. Through 6 of them ago on the 4th lap. We're on board with Moreira as he starts clicking through the gear, trying to pick up some slipstream here behind the 27 bike of Holgado.
Doing 35.1s. That's not exactly slow, but of course he's bottled up now, the 44, and of course with his two main title rivals in this leading quartet, a damaging day already shaping up for Canet, and all the damage was done off the start line.
He's not been on the podium, has he, Canet, since Assen, winless since Qatar. His top 3-4 really has deserted him of late, and he could be losing big ground, or big points in terms of the championship here. Aegis at the moment is getting the better of this battle with Baltus as they power through Cavone. Just further down, Danny Munoz has just picked off Ivan Ortola. Munoz, of course, was one of the standout riders at Barcelona last weekend, when he had a real good fight with early on with Holgado and Dixon before he took his career first podium. So Munoz back into the point scoring places further down the field as he continues to deputise for Dennis Onju.
Baltus has got to try and sort of manage the patience versus frustration ratio here, because he's got the pace to be going after this leading group. He's now side by side with Aegis. The problem is he's on the outside. Aegis will just park it on the inside and get to the apex first. Is it going to send him wide though? The answer is yes, and Baltus does now take that 4th or 5th place up behind Gonzalez. The damage though is he's over 2.5 seconds off the race lead. Can he close that back down?
Gonzalez is now our fastest rider here in San Marino. He just pinged in a 1:34.759, couple tenths faster than Moreira directly ahead of him. That was on that previous lap. Good battle this for 5th place. We're on board with Baltus, who's already put a bit of daylight between himself and Aegis. He got the power coming out of 6. It was a bit of a bobble, a bit of movement on the front end of Manu Gonzalez's calyx there as he tipped it into turn 8. He's running a very, very fast pace, the fastest pace of the Grand Prix. Let's hope he's not too fast, but that probably front tyre to handle.
No one is conserving at this stage of the Grand Prix. This is that battle behind Baltus now, who leads that chase group, so it's fit backwards. We're looking at the battle between Arbolino and Arenas over 7th, then it's Canet, and then Ethan Guevara, and then there's a sizable gap already back to David Alonso, who's now just taken 11th place from Lopez. He's got a 1.5 seconds to close down to join this battle that we're riding on board with.
Dixon, Sasaki and Munoz at the moment are completing your point scoring places. We're on board then now with Canet looking directly ahead to Arenas. They'll pitch now left through turn 15 into the final corner we go. Lots of cloud overhead here in San Marino, but no worries, no concerns about any rainfall at any stage during today. So there's a clear breakaway here. Big gaps emerging between our top four and Baltus in fifth. In fact, Gonzalez was almost 2 seconds ahead of the Belgian, who's almost 3 seconds behind our current leader, Vietti. Vietti at the moment, well, on that last lap, is the only rider that's been able to keep himself in the 34s. He did it just a 134.966.
And there you can see what it would currently mean to the World Championship. Gonzalez would extend his lead by 1 further point, but it would be a different rider in second place. Moreira would take second from Canet as it stands, and we don't see much at the moment. Marin Canet suggesting that that's going to change in the latter part of this Grand Prix.
Baltus is starting to drop Aegis and co behind him. He's almost 4/10 clear now of the Australian in that battle for 5th place. On the brakes we go into the right-hander of Tremonto. In on the gas, try and be as smooth as you possibly can. And then get the dry grip down towards Cavone. I think then that is that leads. You can hear those Triumph 3-cylinder engines on the red limiter as they go through Cavone. The sort of gaps are sort of held station, haven't they, now for the last 3 or 4 laps? It's been as you were, really, between Vietti, Holgado, Moreira and Gonzalez, although Gonzalez looks strong on the brakes going into 14, closes onto the rear tyre of Moreira.
Could it be too little too late, though, for Baltus to get into this leading group? You can see him there at the back of the picture. We'll track his lap time as they come over the line this time around to see if he is closing in. He's going to have to get back into the 34s if he wants any hope of joining this leading battle. 35 zeros and 35 ones for the top four. Baltus is Albrecht's leading pace. He is doing 135 zeros himself, but he is 2 seconds up the back of this group. Gonzalez, then comes Baltus, who has upped his pace since clearing Aegis.
He's managing this quite beautifully right now. It's Vietti just sort of doing a sequence of high 134s, back in the 35s now, but every single lap it's half a tenth, 3/4 tenth faster than Holgado directly behind him. Just not giving Holgado a sniff to try and even get close to showing him a wheel at the moment. Canet is down in 8th place, but he's well adrift. He's over 4 seconds back at the race lead right now. Stuck in this pretty intense battle with Arbolino, Arenas and Guevara.
He's just taken Arenas at the start of this lap for that 8th place, so Canet finally starting to make some moves, but much like his teammate Baltus, it feels like it's a little too late for Canet. Really, realistically, the best he can get from here is maybe 5th or 6th if he can clear Arbolino quickly, but you can see already Baltus and Aegis are dropping this group.
Yet further back you can see David Alonso in 11th. He's about a second clear of Dixon, who's in recovery mode after his first lap contact with Canet. There goes Canet on the inside of Arbolino. Into the Caro corner we go, turn 14. That's a nice move that by Canet. It's been a good lap this actually by the Spaniard, because he's picked his way through on both Arenas and Arbolino. So this is much more like the Canet we know and love.
7th place though is all he's looking at, unless something happens not ahead of him. I don't know whether Fantic would be in any position at this stage so early in the season to ask Baltus to drop back. He's, I guess, in his own battle in the World Championship. He could potentially catch Canet Moreira himself. So Canet is in an enviable position here in the World Championship, losing points. Ramirez has been given a long lap penalty. He's already out of the points anyway, but he's taking the shortcut at turn 1. The same shortcut that Lopez took on the first lap, but clearly Lopez lost enough time.
Baltus has just set his best after the Grand Prix, a 135.032. That's actually slightly faster than Manu Gonzalez directly ahead of him. Our top 3 were back in the 34s on that last lap. Vietti, as Arenas goes on the inside of Arbolino into turn 8. Vietti's got his biggest lead of this Grand Prix so far at the moment. Briefly, he was over half a second clear of Holgado. Holgado finds a little bit of time back in sector 2, but nothing at the moment to give Vietti too much worry.
We'll have a battle between the two from Blue Crew shortly. Arbolino's next. Potential problem is his teammate Ethan Guevara. They're now 9th and 10th as we look now from the overhead shot on the battle for 3rd. The reason we're only looking at these two is because Moreira is now half a second behind Dani Holgado, and is he in danger of losing touch with the top 2? And does Gonzalez feel that if he wants to win this Grand Prix and move on, the Brazilian has to come quickly?
They're in big danger of getting attached here. That's from Vietti and Holgado. There is Baltus in 5th. See if he can keep that pace in the low 135s as he tries to streak back towards Gonzalez. Vietti, very, very fast and very consistent at the front of this Grand Prix. Yeah, and at the moment, Vietti and Holgado have got the measure of Moreira and Gonzalez. Fair play once again to Holgado, because he's just not letting Vietti make a sort of clear and decisive break. That gap should have been hovering around 0.4 of a second, just over half a second for the last sort of 4, 5, 6 laps now, as Moreira got his exit coming out of 5 all wrong.
And that's now put him on the wrong line for 6. Gives Gonzalez a run at him through the gentle kick of 7 into turn 8. We know Diogo Moreira is fiercely difficult to overtake in the Moto2 Grand Prix, and Gonzalez is already finding the same out.
Yeah, despite that sort of small mistake coming out of 5, he was able to hold on to 3rd place, but for how much longer? You've got a sense there on board with Gonzalez, and he was going to have a good look on the inside of Moreira. Thought better of it. Out to 10 we go then. Well, 2 of our top 3 in the World Championship as it stands right now. Gonzalez really is starting to close in on Moreira. Will the move come maybe on the brakes into 14? Is he going to be close enough now as we come into this final right-hander? You bet he is. Saw that coming a mile off. It's just sitting a little bit hot though. Yeah, Moreira. Oh, there was almost contact. Yeah, Moreira's policy there was, well, if I get past here, how late I'm braking, whoever does make the move is going wide, and I'll just cut back to the inside line. So good strategy at play there from Moreira, but at the moment it looks like Gonzalez is the slightly faster of the 2.
I don't think there's any quiety about it at the moment. Moreira looks like he's really struggling to hold this one at bay. The top 2 are now long gone, 2.5 clear. Moreira's battle with Gonzalez and the scrappy lap he had dropped him to a 35.9. If they're not careful here, they're going to back themselves into Baltus, Aegis, and potentially even Aaron Canet, depending on how he goes later on. So this battle is potentially going to cost the pair of them a podium. Baltus and Aegis are catching them.
Looks like it's all on Holgado to crash the home party as far as Vietti's concerned. Because Moreira and Gonzalez, well, they're struggling. They just do not have the pace of the 2 directly ahead of him. Gonzalez once again just showing Moreira with his right on his rear tyre going down into turn 8. That gap that now Gonzalez back to Baltus is just over a second. This was Gonzalez then trying the block pass through on Moreira into turn 14. He just ran, what, half a metre offline, a metre offline maximum. That was all it took. And Moreira just said, thank you very much, stuck to the inside line. At that point, they thought, yeah, we've got 3rd place. The Gonzalez camped, but unfortunately, it was aborted mission.
Moreira will now know that move is coming. And in terms of what's going on elsewhere, Baltus is now within 0.8 of a second for this battle. You'll soon see him from the overhead shot as Gonzalez goes a little hot. There you saw him just coming to the picture. Baltus now really catching quickly as Jorge Navarro has crashed out of the Grand Prix, having already served a long lap penalty. Another miserable weekend for the forward man.
Holgado has just been issued a track limits warning. So something to definitely grab his attention. We're not even, well, we're just at the halfway stage now of this Misano Grand Prix. And here comes Gonzalez. This time around, he decides to make the move on the brakes into turn 1. Oh, they lean on each other going through the left-hander to Gonzalez, and looks like he has made that move stick. Moreira is not letting him have it as with an almighty fight. On the brakes we go into turn 4. Here comes Moreira back on the inside. And this is music to the ears of Baltus and Aegis behind them. Because look now, Baltus is right on the rear tyre of Gonzalez. This toing and throwing between Moreira and Gonzalez. Well, hello, Barry Baltus for the podium.
And Cedar Aegis potentially, and he's seen this movie before because he's had these battles with Moreira only this season. Gonzalez with a big lunge this time into Quecha. This is about much more than just 3rd place. This could be your World Championship battle you're watching.
Yeah, and you know, if you pass Moreira, you have to make it stick, because at the very next corner, he's going to try and throw it back on the inside of you. That's exactly what is happening here right now. We've seen moves into turn 1, turn 4, into 8 now between Gonzalez and Moreira. Oh, that's brave. That is brave. What a move that is by Gonzalez.
Moreira forced out completely. Gonzalez said, right, I'm just going to have to get creative. I'm going to have to get brutal here on the Brazilian. He's now not only got past him, but he's put a bite between him and Moreira. And it did look like it was a bit of a futile mission for the Brazilian. We're only just coming up to half-race distance, and already he was fighting a major rearguard action. Gonzalez not only through on Moreira now, but he's in danger of... putting some bikes between himself and the man.
Yes. There's a big gap then back to Canet in 7th place, who's got his hands full dealing with the blue crew pairing of Arbolino and Guevara. Guevara has just taken 9th from Arenas on that previous lap.
So can Baltus now get involved in this podium battle? They were back in the 36s, were Gonzalez and Moreira, with that battle with each other on the last lap. But Gonzalez, I guess, decided, I don't care how much time I lose, I've just got to get past and stay past the number 10. It looks like he may now have done that, but what we know from Diogo Moreira in 2025 is he never knows when he's beaten.
Baltus is pushing that Pirelli front tyre hard on the brakes into turn 8. Try close back up here on Gonzalez through Tremonto. I saw that aggressive move by Gonzalez on Moreira going through Cavoni. Nothing wrong with Gonzalez's aggression at all at that particular moment. Right here it was for Gonzalez. The home crowd, though, are loving their afternoon here in Misano, with Vietti once again establishing a ½ second buffer back to Holgado in 2nd place. This time around, there's no lunges, there's no big moves made into turn 14, so Gonzalez still there in P3.
Moreira's between a rock and a hard place here, really, because he's got Gonzalez ahead of him, and then immediately ahead of Moreira is Canet's teammate Baltus. Right behind Moreira is Gonzalez's teammate Senna Regis. So Diogo Moreira has not got a lot of friends around him.
Once again, that gap between Vietti and Holgado in terms of lap time is nothing. Small margins, it's sort of 500s, 600s here and there, but it's all building up. That's seeing Vietti establish a lead that's 5.5 tenths. Here comes Baltus, he's on the inside of Gonzalez. Gonzalez can't turn in. This is beautiful by Baltus. He just seized that inside line, got the corner speed through 3, levelled Gonzalez in the braking zone for 4. He made that look easy, and that was not an easy move at all. He's passed the world champion there, like he was taking candy off a baby.
Here's Gonzalez going to push the boat out to come back through. He better be careful if he does, because Moreira will be up the inside like a rat up a drain pipe. They are now 4th and 5th. So put the flag out now. Gonzalez gains 2 points over Moreira and gains 4 points over Aaron Canet. So this, in many respects, is saving Aaron Canet's bacon.
Holgado's just hit a bit of a wall in 2nd place at the moment. Just keeping an eye on the intermediate gaps between Vietti and the Spaniard. It's creeping up. It's gone up to over 3/4 of a second now between the 2 front runners. In fact, it's getting even bigger. This has been a massive lap 13 as far as Vietti's concerned at the front of this Grand Prix. He's exactly 9/10 of a second clear of Holgado now through split 3 on this lap 13. Has this been the lap which will guide Celestino Vietti to yet another home success here in Misano?
Yeah, let's see what lap time he's done. It's another 35.2. His pace is just holding steady. Holgado's has dropped off to a 35.6 now, 3/10 slower even than Baltus behind him. Don't think Holgado should be getting too worried just yet with a 3-second advantage, but the elastic might have snapped now between our top 2.
Further back then, Canet still in 7th. He has still got Tony Arbolino for company ahead of Guevara, and the top 10 for David Alonso. Points at the moment for Arenas, Dixon, Sasaki, Munoz and Ortola. Another poor day as far as Alonso Lopez is concerned. He's nowhere. He's doing high 135s at the moment, as are those around him. Look at the front, chatter. Big style chatter on the front end of Vietti's Boscoscura. That's how hard he's pushing at the moment to have built this 1 second lead over Holgado. Don't throw it all away now, Chalet.
Yeah, we've already had 9 different winners so far this season in Moto2. Vietti on course to become the 10th, but he has still got an awful lot of bridges to cross between now and then. Holgado is going to try and keep the pressure on in these closing stages. Keeping the pressure on Baltus is Gonzalez. Baltus hasn't been able to bolt up the road just yet, but that's the biggest advantage Gonzalez has had over Moreira for quite some time. It's not a huge advantage as they come through this sector. It's only around 1/4 of a second, but that might feel like a yawning chasm for Gonzalez, because we know what Diogo Moreira's like.
Keeps building up the big point scoring finishes, does Gonzalez, but the back of his mind, it's been a long time since we've seen victories in Moto2, all the way back to the Italian Grand Prix in Mugello. There's been a whole bunch of 3rd and 4th places which are keeping him clear at the top of this World Championship. That's a winning touch which he had so frequently in the first half of the season, certainly has deserted him of late. barring any late disasters for Vietti and Holgado, he hasn't got a hope in hell of winning here today in San Marino. That gap between Vietti and Holgado is extending now to 1.3 seconds. Vietti at the moment has not done anything lower than a 35.4 in this Grand Prix.
This battle between two former Moto3 world champions who have ran into each other once before this season. Back in Jerez, Ethan Guevara, 2022 Moto3 champion. David Alonso, the 2024 Moto3 world champion. 2020 champion just behind them in the form of Alberto Arenas. And of course we know Alonso so strong late in the race as he looks to try and move himself towards the top 8.
So will not be liking this. He will not like playing second fiddle and being completely overshadowed right now by his teammate Danny Holgado. Yes, he took that brilliant last lap victory to break his winning duck in Moto2. As elbow to elbow, side by side, going Aegis and Moreira on that run down to Cavoni. Aegis has the inside line. Look how much movement he was getting on those Pirelli tyres underneath, but he's got the job done. And as you mentioned, yeah, the fact that there's been back-to-back poles and potentially 45 out of the last 50 points taken by Danny Holgado. Yeah. What have you got? David Alonso, I think, will be the message that we head to the flyaways.
Yeah, he looks like the Rookie of the Year. Battle is going only one way at the moment. Holgado about to extend that advantage. This was where Aegis moved through on Moreira. We saw it in progress. He did go the inside into 10 and held it off on the exit. And Moreira now, can he in any way fight back from here in 6th place? Of course, we saw Aegis take a podium away from him in Buriram, and we saw the same in Jerez. Moreira puts up an almighty fight before ultimately giving best to the Aussie. But does Diogo have anything to fight with here?
Awesome, right, this by Baltus, absolutely awesome. He's just fighting a 1:35.138. That was actually faster than Vietti at the front of this Grand Prix. At the moment, he's comfortably covering off any threat that's being posed by Gonzalez behind him. Baltus has dragged Gonzalez away from Aegis and Moreira as well, but at the moment, I know Gonzalez is going to be off the podium once again here in Misano because he doesn't have anything right now in response to this brilliant surge of pace by Baltus.
Consolation for Manu, though, is that he is ahead of his two main title rivals, and I guess ultimately that's all he will truly care about. Holgado's got to be a little bit careful here because this is 3 or 4 laps in a row now where Baltus has taken 2, 3, 4 tenths of a second out of him. It was 4 tenths on the last lap, down from 2.9 to 2.5. Nothing that he should be panicking about just yet, but he might need to squeeze a little bit more pace out of his tyres in the laps that remain to hold on to that 2nd place.
Last weekend, it was a battle for the podium between Munoz and Dixon. They're fighting now for 13th and 14th. Munoz has just passed Dixon for that 13th place.
Baltus had another half a second already on this lap on Holgado. Started the lap 2.5 seconds behind the 27. It's already down to 2 seconds. Holgado is starting to fade a bit, and he might think he's in a very comfortable 2nd place. I'm not so sure it's as comfortable anymore. A 35.8 for Holgado. Baltus does a 35.0. He's miles faster than anyone else on the racetrack. This chase for 2nd is on.
Half a second quicker than your race leader Vietti was Baltus. I mean, on 16 lap old Pirelli rubber, he's threatening to get himself back in the 34s here. Baltus. There's that big carabine dangling in front of him, but you can see Holgado coming back to him, and now he's charging towards the CF Moto Aspar run, and there he is on the 7 bike. I mean, he has left Gonzalez for dead here, hasn't he? Gonzalez just had nothing to respond to this particular onslaught from Baltus. Stepping on barriers, almost on the blue paint there, braking into turn 8. Vietti at the moment, well, this is his race to lose, clearly now, as he's built an advantage for the first time of over 2 seconds. So only Vietti can undo all of his own great work.
Danny Holgado, you're going to have to speed up. 1.7 was the gap at the start of the lap. Already halfway through this lap, lap 17 to 22, it's down to 1.3. Never mind, can he catch him before the end of the Grand Prix? He'll catch him in about 3 laps' time.
Oh, listen to that Triumph 3-cylinder 765 motor on the rev limiter in the hands of Moreira. Oh, he's desperately just trying to find a way back through here on Aegis and Gonzalez. He knows that there's really important World Championship points at stake here. Danny Gonzalez is dropping back into the clutches of Aegis and Moreira, isn't he? This is not what we expected at all from Gonzalez. He expected this to be a real epic battle at Moto2. A battle for the win that's been nowhere near, to be fair.
Another 6-10's taking out of Holgado's advantage. Holgado's back into 36s now. He's in a bit of trouble. And Baltus is now just 1.1 behind him. What will Senna Aegis do here? And what will the Intact GP squad do? Because I guess from their point of view, looking at the World Championship, the perfect place for Aegis to sit is right there between Gonzalez and Moreira. But will he stay there?
Aegis and Moreira down now, back to the 135.4s. There is Holgado, who seems to be really suffering at the moment. He has barbecued those trolley tyres, hasn't he, underneath him? And at the moment, it looks like he could be a bit of a sitting duck here as far as Baltus is concerned. Just look how much time Baltus is recovering, and the braking zone for turn 8. Do you know what? Holgado might be flat out in, potentially hanging on to the podium if he's not careful.
It's 6-10 to lap. He might drop back towards Gonzalez yet, as Moreira has a look at the first of the two Intact bikes. He's got to try and clear, but Aegis looks clearly quicker than Gonzalez, who couldn't hold that tight inside line through Tremonto. Aegis might have no choice here but to go through on his teammate.
Yeah, and it's Baltus just careering towards Holgado. Holgado is going to be passed very, very quickly for that P2. Cracking ride this by Senna Aegis. Of course, he had that nightmare incident with Alonso Lopez at the Red Bull Ring in Austria on the first lap to reluctantly sit out the Hungarian Grand Prix. And here he is, the 81. Is he going to go through on the inside of Gonzalez at turn 16? Well, Jürgen Ling's got no hair to lose, has he? As team manager of Intact Dynamo GP. But at the moment, oh, Baltus! Oh, Barry Baltus! Unbelievable on the brakes into that first corner.
So I whisper it quietly, Barry Baltus could yet win this Grand Prix. He's doing a 35.2. He's even a second lap quicker than Vietti. Look how easily he passes Holgado. Vietti was back in the 36s last time round. Baltus was a second quicker.
And Aegis has got through. He's up in a 4th place. And Gonzalez is now back in 6th. Manu Gonzalez, and he clips the inside curve there going through turn 6, is now back in P6. And just look how quickly Aegis and Moreira have streaked away from. Clearly Gonzalez was a rolling roadblock there, wasn't he? The Aussie and Brazilian ahead of him. Well, Manu Gonzalez is taking a bit of a pummeling here today.
Well, a nod to Jack in pit lane. He told us all last night, Barry Baltus' race pace looks sensational. He's certainly been proven right here. Look how quickly he's just dropping Holgado, and they're surely going to have to tell Chelsea Vietti down the speed RS. 36.1s are not going to win you this Grand Prix because Baltus can do low 35s.
Yeah, what has Vietti got left in the locker? Back in the 36s. Has he just been managing his pace? This is the first corner move. Yeah, Gonzalez just got in that little bit too hot then into that first corner as he just overcooked that front tyre, because he's struggling, isn't he? Struggling big time. Didn't see this coming at all from the World Championship lead. I'm sure he certainly didn't as well. I mean, that was just easy as you like, wasn't it? As Moreira just thrown around the outside of him after that mistake into 1.
So with the overtake on Holgado, Baltus did a 35.7, Vietti 35.8. So Vietti has sped up. Let's see on this lap now, with Baltus having to overtake nobody, how much time he can take out of Chelsea Vietti. 3 laps to go, so he is going to have to take the thick end of a second lap out from here. Vietti, with all of his big experience, should manage this, but Baltus is certainly not letting him win easily.
Gonzalez will be relieved that he hasn't got anybody else for close company behind him, because Aaron Kinet's in 7th place. Thankfully, he's 4 seconds behind his fellow Spaniard, because Gonzalez was a second slower. He's going to be in the 37s very, very soon if he's not careful, Gonzalez.
First sector, Baltus took 3/10 out of Vietti immediately with some empty tarmac ahead of him. So this already could be setting off some alarm bells down at Speed RS. And Luca Boscascoro, who hasn't been able to celebrate a victory for one of his bikes since Jake Dixon won back in Austin. As we watch Aegis now coming under threat from Moreira. This victory not secured just yet for Chelsea Vietti. Of course, reminder, Baltus has never won a Grand Prix.
5 of his 6 podiums have been second places. Qatar 2024, Jerez, Le Mans, Saxon Ring and Renault already so far this year. Is he just going to run out of time here to reel in Vietti? Aegis and Moreira, it's a real intense fight brewing for 4th place. They don't have to worry about Manu Gonzalez, because the World Championship leader is dropping like a stone at the moment. Over the line we go then. There's going to be 2 laps remaining here in this Moto2 scrappy Misano. Vietti 1.9 seconds clear of Baltus in second place. Once again, Baltus 4/10 faster on that previous lap. The gap keeps getting reduced. I just think maybe here Baltus needs 1 or 2 more laps and he'd be right in this victory battle, but you do wonder whether Vietti can just manage that advantage of 2 seconds with 2 to go.
Baltus is going to be lamenting the delay earlier on in the Grand Prix. Started from 4th place, but dropped back on the opening lap. It's the first sector through the change of direction where he's winning a lot of his time over Celestino Vietti. Vietti, of course, has won a Grand Prix here before, won the last time Moto2 raced here in much more dramatic fashion than this might prove to be when he was 3rd going into the final sector on the final lap. He's a lap and a half away from back-to-back Misano wins.
Wants to gap down to 1.3 seconds. He's took half a second in the first half this penultimate lap out of Vietti. Vietti surely now has just, if he's got anything left in those Pirelli tyres, he's got to start getting on with this, because Baltus now just 1.3 seconds behind the Italian. Further back, we've got this battle. Here comes
Aegis made a mistake here because he's gone off the road back. He's gone back behind Moreira. He's way off the road there, almost into the gravel trap. And I do wonder what Intact GP are going to do here. Are they going to tell Aegis to release Gonzalez for the extra points?
Vietti is responding finally. For the first time in what seems an age, he's actually been faster in a sector than Baltus behind him. It was 1.3 the gap going through sector 2. Look at this battle between the two Dynavolt teammates. Gonzalez versus Aegis. Last lap underway then. Vietti 1.2 seconds clear of Baltus. Can Baltus pull off a miracle here in Misano?
Well, Aegis not letting Gonzalez through at this stage. If I was Jürgen Ling, I'd be putting a drop-on position on Aegis' pit board. You never know how important that extra World Championship point could prove to be.
Well, they're now both in the same picture, aren't they? There's your race leader, Vietti, going through turn 6. 10 corners remaining here in Misano for Vietti to take a brilliant home victory. But once again, he's lost another 10th in that first split.
Moreira might catch Holgado yet too on this final lap. Keep a close eye on that. When this lap began, it was 0.9 of a second. Moreira was a second quicker than Holgado, though. That will be very close too in the final sector.
Vietti and tens of thousands of Italian fans right now are praying to see the checkered flag. They're going to be so relieved that this is not a 17-corner lap here in Misano, because it looks like Vietti's going to have this one covered. His lead, though, has shrunk to under a second, but surely Baltus cannot recover 8/10 in these final 2 sectors.
It's going to take something like the kind of mistakes that handed Vietti victory here at the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix last season. He's safely through turn 14. Moreira's building up for a last lap lunge on Danny Holgado. The final podium place could still change yet.
Yeah, Vietti has got this one covered off. Fair play to Barry Baltus. One more lap, and this could have had a very different outcome. More massive chatter from the front end of Vietti. But over the line he goes, and Vietti is victorious here in Misano in Moto2. It's a brilliant win for Boscoscuro. Barry Baltus takes a stunning second place. He came from so far back to take second spot. Holgado, another rider, just relieved to see the checkered flag, as well as he just about clings on to 3rd place from pole position. 3/10 he finishes clear of Diogo Moreira. Senna Aegis does win the battle of the Dynavolt Intact duo. Aegis 5th. Manu Gonzalez 6th, and nearly 8.5 seconds behind Vietti. Top 10s for Canet Alonso, Arbolino Guevara. Points for Arenas, Munoz, Ortola, Sasaki and Lopez. Forward rolls and somersaults and all kinds of gymnastics from the speed-up crew. As Celestino Vietti makes it back-to-back wins in front of his home crowd. But you know what? If that was a 23-lap race, he might have lost it, because Barry Baltus's pace in the second half of that Grand Prix was unrivaled. Vietti did all the hard work early on to make sure he built an advantage over Holgado, which kept creeping up and creeping up. And he just about fends off Baltus's late charge.
Celestino Vietti might tell us it was all under control, but I'm not so sure it looked it in those latter stages. What a ride from Barry Baltus, who has been one of the standout riders, one of the stories, the breakthrough stories of 2025 in Moto2. That might be his best ride yet. Had he got anything like a sensible start from this Grand Prix, he could quite easily have won it.
Another near miss, but another cracking ride seconds in Jerez, Le Mans, Sachsenring and Brno most recently. Another second to the tally though for Baltus. He was just brilliant, absolutely phenomenal, his pace. Holgado, it's another great weekend. A pole and a win 7 days ago in Barcelona, a pole and a podium here this weekend in Misano.
We'll talk of Aaron Canet and Diogo Moreira as World Championship contenders. Perhaps we might be a little premature when writing Barry Baltus out of this just yet. He gains 10 points today on Manu Gonzalez. From 64 back, he is now 54 back. Baltus just about clinging on in this title battle.
Yeah, and who would have thought we'd be saying that 16 rounds deep into our record-breaking campaign. Barry Baltus had just one podium finish coming into this season before. Frantic Racing have completely transformed the fortunes, haven't they, of the 21-year-old Belgian rider. Well, Luca Boscascora is his home Grand Prix, of course, boss of the Boscascora project, and they're victorious on home turf with Celestino Vietti. Let's get his thoughts for Jack.
Luca, huge congratulations. What a journey this has been for Celestino. Just how much does this victory mean?
Yeah, I'm unbelievable happy because it's my house, house Boscoscuro, the bike and house Celestino. I am really, really happy, and I hope that this victory help to believe the possible win a lot race. Only that.
Huge congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and there's nothing better, there's nothing sweeter than the taste of home success, which goes the way of both Boscascoro and Celestino Vietti. The home fans are on their feet. I'm sure there's a few have chewed up the fingernails when they saw Barry Baltus charging back towards Vietti at the end of that Grand Prix. Just listen to the noise, listen to the reception. This is not a new experience as far as Vietti is concerned. He's got the job done previously here on home soil.
It's there already unzipped on the left arm of Manu Gonzalez, and the glove already half off. Don't know whether he's encountered any sort of arm pump problems late in this Grand Prix as he climbs off his intact Calex. In the end, it was a battle of the intact duo on the final couple of laps. Look how hard H's was trying to hold that one off. He was not playing the team game there, nor was he asked to by the looks of it. He's within his right to fight for himself. Gonzalez, though, ends up with two bikes. A bike between himself and Moreira, and of course nothing between himself and Aaron Canet. Given the way the race was looking, Manu Gonzalez will be a little bit disappointed. He's only gained 1 point over his nearest challenger, with Moreira and Canet now level on 188 points apiece.
Back-to-back races now, and it hasn't happened very often in 2025, with our top three in the World Championship have missed the podium. Gonzalez, yeah, nothing out of the cheeks. Looks like he's complaining about maybe some discomfort or pain in the right upper arm there. Not quite sure what happened to Gonzalez. What is not up for debate is the fact that he took the checker flag in 6th place. Celestino Vietti, I wonder he's enjoying this very special cool-down lap here in Misano. A moment to savour for Vietti, a date to remember for him and for Boscascora. So too for Barry Baltus and Frantic Racing. Brilliant.
Barry's can't get the Belgian flag off his neck by the looks of it, as they're working hard there down at Fantic. His day will come. The form he's in, Baltus is going to win at some point, surely in Moto2. We're already up now to 10 different winners in this Moto2 season. What an extraordinary season of entertainment and unpredictability. Vietti becomes winner number 10 in just 16 rounds.
Took it relatively comfortably. When you look at the record books, history will show that Celestino Vietti beat Barry Baltus by almost 3/4 of a second after 22 laps of racing in our 2025 Moto2 race here in Misano. What did you won't glean from looking just at the timesheets is just how much pressure Vietti was under very late on. Great job, really, really good job. He's only 11 points now behind Dixon in the battle of 5th in the World Championship. He needed a big result like that because Danny Holgado was threatening to move ahead of him up to 6 in the standings. 10 different winners then so far in Moto2. Good news is we've still got 6 rounds remaining as Celestino Vietti just goes on the scales. Congratulations all round then for Barry Baltus. What an excellent performance by the Belgian. I won the Fantic Racing, I'm not letting him go. Another season like this for Barry Baltus. There's maybe even the possibility that some MotoGP teams, I'm sure they're keeping a close eye on his progress, because the step that he's made this year compared to where he has been in previous years has been ginormous. I mean, he's probably been the most improved rider across all 3 Grand Prix classes in 2025.
And he's only 15 points now behind Moreira and Canet. Moreira does take second place in the World Championship from Canet today by virtue of having more Grand Prix victories this season. So Baltus, perhaps a championship challenge might be a little far-fetched with just the 6 Grand Prix remaining, but he could easily finish runner-up in the World Championship, and if he can outscore his illustrious teammate Aaron Canet in the Moto2 season, then that is a major feather in his cap.
Well, Boscascura and Vietti complete the Italian job here in the Misano Grand Prix. So perhaps the most frustrating looking podium finisher is Danny Holgado, who should be immensely proud of his weekend's work. Another pole position and a 3rd place. The background, though, maybe he expected to be in the hunt for the win a little bit longer than what he was. At the end, he would probably be pretty relieved that he did just about hold off Moreira in that battle for the final place on the podium. Back-to-back poles and back-to-back podiums in the space of a week for Holgado. Here he is with Jack.
Danny, what a great week you've had. Victory last time out, backing it up with a podium here, but that looked like a real tough one to manage. How do you feel at the end of it?
Yes, very happy with my podium after the win in Valencia. This was positive for me because now we have a good performance after the semi-back. Yes, very happy with the race. It was very difficult because Vietti was really fast in the first lap, in the first 10 laps. It was amazing. But in the end, it was a bit difficult for me because the rear tire was destroyed. But no problem, because I have a good pace during the race, during the weekend. I am very happy with my podium. This is so positive for me and for the team. Thank you all.
Congratulations.
Going to start getting used to seeing Danny Holgado at the sharp end, aren't we, in these Moto2 battles? Some week he won last time around in the Grand Prix of Catalonia. A very hard fought 3rd place here today in Misano. He really did have to dig deep for that podium, as he said, just trying to run that early hot pace that was being posed by Vietti, and then trying to keep Moreira at bay late on. He really did have nothing left in that Pirelli rear tyre. Thankfully there was just enough left for him to secure that 3rd place, which means it is now back-to-back podiums for the number 27, 19th career podium for Danny Holgado. Well, his late race pace was nothing short of sensational. It's another 2nd place as well for the brilliant Barry Baltus, who's for Jack.
Barry, what a brilliant, brilliant ride. Your pace was phenomenal in those closing stages. Do you feel like you just needed one more lap to get Celestino?
Well, super happy to be back here in the front and in the back race. Feel amazing in the home GP for the team, and they deserve it. This podium, also this victory, but well, 2nd is already pretty good. I missed some time at the beginning of the race with some fight, and then I recovered all the race, and yeah. It was really hard, but really happy to take this 20 points before the overseas race. And like always, I like to dedicate the race to my podium to someone. And in 10 days, a birthday from my father. So this one is for you, Papa, and see you in Japan.
Brilliant ride, well done.
Thank you.
Well, that is a very nice early birthday present, isn't it, for Papa Baltus. He'll be super proud of his son's work once again. That's an 8th top 6 finish of the campaign for the Belgian. Top 6s were very, very few and far between in his Grand Prix career, but now it's becoming a very, very familiar sight, isn't it, for Barry Baltus, who will make his 100th Grand Prix start next time out in Japan, and he will do it full of confidence after what was a brilliant, brilliant job here today. But none better, though, than Celestino Vietti, and it's always a super special feeling, isn't it, to win in front of your home crowd. There'd be a lot of expectation, a lot of pressure on the shoulders of Vietti, given how much time he spends lapping this Misano circuit. I think it's fair to say that he is very much a track expert here at Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli, but you still have to do the business, you still have to get the job done, and that's exactly what he did. Celestino Vietti, your victor here in Misano with Jack.
Celestino, what a brilliant ride. Dominated it from start to finish. You've been victorious here before, but after the journey you've been on with Bossascuro this year, how special is this win?
Really super happy. We work really hard the last races to improve and close the gap, and every time I do something qualify to don't achieve what we can do, but now we do a really great weekend every session on the top, so really happy for me, for the team. Now it's time to be consistent, but yeah, we have to enjoy here. A lot of people come here to support me, so really thanks to everybody, and this one is for my grandfather.
Congratulations.
Back-to-back wins then in Misano for Celestino Vietti. Yeah, he wags the finger. Numero uno, B1. That was Vietti. And this is the moment he knows he's taken the victory. Great job by Vietti. Heart delirious with the win. Heart relieved that there wasn't another lap in that Grand Prix, because trust us, Barry Baltus, if it was another 4.2 kilometres, 4.4 kilometre, it might have been a different outcome. Taking nothing away though from Vietti on the number 13 bike. Takes his first win of the season. Second time he's led a Grand Prix this year. He hadn't led since the opening round in Buriram, and today, well, he led the whole Grand Prix. Top work.
The light for Luca Boscoscuro at the team's home Grand Prix. As mentioned, they've had to wait quite a while for their last win since Austin, Texas, and Jake Dixon's win. Darren Canet explains to his Fanti crew where it didn't quite work out for him today. As you can see there on the screens, he ran about a third of the way through the Grand Prix. He got up into 7th place, and that was where he stayed. The poor start saw him beaten off the line by the likes of Aegis, Arbolino, and others. Of course, he was battling with Jake Dixon into turn 6 on the first lap as Dixon was forced off the road. And Senna Aegis, David's just off to the right-hand side there in the Aegis camp this weekend. Good ride that for Senna. 5th place for him in the middle of that highly entertaining battle for 4th, 5th and 6th. Baltus escapes that in the end, of course, to get himself up into the podium battle. And a podium, Moto2, which has already seen 15 different riders stand on it this year. We don't add to that number today. We do add a 10th different winner. New Moto2 record. Luca Boscoscuro, of course, does the honours to accept the winning constructor prize. 3rd win of the season for the Boscoscuro chassis, but the first for his team, Speed RS. Danny Holgado, back-to-back podiums for him. And a 3rd of the season, of course, after that 2nd place in Austria. He was already the top scorer in the last 5 Grand Prix. He's now the top scorer in the last 6. Barry Baltus, who is the next highest scorer in that period, takes 2nd place. And he came under a little bit of late pressure, but Celestino Vietti had done enough to take a 2nd consecutive Misano win. And whilst he might have only led last year for around about 10 metres, this time he led for all 20 laps. Luca Boscoscuro dedicates it to the team. He's going to enjoy every second of this. Danny Holgado continues his extraordinary run of results post-summer break. 3 podiums in the last 4. Barry Baltus, it's another 2nd place for him. It's his 5th of the year, his 6th overall, of course, with that Qatar podium at the beginning of last season. And he'll mark a century of Grand Prix starts next time out in Japan. Can potentially bring up 3 figures by taking his first win. We feel it's a matter of when rather than if we see that man on the top step of a Moto2 podium. But today, it's the home hero who's triumphant in Moto2. Very few know this circuit quite like Celestino Vietti, and he's the master of Misano in Moto2 today.
V is for victory. V is for Vietti here in San Marino as Celestino Vietti gets to pop open the race-winning Prosecco after he takes win number 16 in 2025. As we head off onto our overseas travels, the flyweight coming up next with Vietti bang on form. Home fans certainly appreciated his work here today. Coming up, of course, in about 50 minutes time, will be lights out for the 27-lap Grand Prix of San Marino in MotoGP, where a good pal of Celestino Vietti's, Marco Bezzecchi, is looking to convert pole position and a sprint victory into another success on the factory Aprilia. But Vietti, Baltus and Holgado, our last Moto2 European podium for a good few weeks. Getting the photos, which I'm sure will be making a few headlines in the Italian media, that's for sure. Beaming smiles all round then for our top three. This Moto2 World Championship battle, and it's getting tight at the top, and it's going to go all the way, you feel, between Gonzalez, Moreira and Connect. But Celestino Vietti, your winner here in Misano.
The 10th different winner of the season. Vietti holds off Barry Baltus. Danny Holgado clung on to third place. Another lap, and he'd have lost that too, with Moreira catching quickly. Senaregius 5th, ahead of Manu Gonzalez, only 6th today, although not huge damage done to his World Championship lead. Connect 7th, ahead of Alonso, who once again made up late progress to pass both of the Blue Crew Yamahas, Pramac machines. Arbolino and Guevara 9th and 10th. The Reynas 11th from Danny Munoz. More points for the Catalunya hero ahead of Ivan Artola and Yumi Sasaki, and a solitary point after his lap 1 excursion for Alonso Lopez. But it's largely as you were in terms of the points gaps. Gonzalez started the day 38 clear. He's now 39 ahead. The big change, though, is Diogo Moreira taking second place from Aaron Connect today. They're level on 188 points, 39 back. Barry Baltus is just 15 points further adrift. We have to consider him still a World Championship contender too. After no scoring today, Jake Dixon's hopes surely now over. Celestino Vietti is just 11 points behind him in 6th. Constructors, Calex, of course, by far and away the dominant force in the championship today. They could have clinched the Constructors title today. Oscar Scuro's victory ensures they have to wait at least another week. Overall, a good day in team standings for the Fantic Racing squad. Their advantage over Intact GP, thanks to Barry Baltus today, is 30 points. Another corker in Moto2, of which we've seen so many this season. In the end, the race-winning overtake off the start line from Celestino Vietti. Daniel Holgado was in no position to fight back from there. One speed, Oscar led the race. The other went the scenic route at turn 1 onto Lopez, going straight across the chicane. This was the battle early on between Aegis and Baltus. This was back in 5th and 6th place. Before they call the battle for 3rd between Gonzalez and Moreira. Moreira getting pushed off big time through Carboni by Gonzalez. Baltus was on a charge, having passed both Aegis and Moreira. He then took Gonzalez for P3. Or chasing down Danny Holgado at a rapid rate of knots, moving into 2nd place. At that point, he was still 2.5 seconds off the race lead. He closed it down to virtually nothing on the last lap. Vietti hanging on for his first victory of the season, the 10th different winner in Moto2. MotoGP, the main event here at Misano, is coming up next.
Surrounded by beautiful countryside, historic cities and charming villages, we're at the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, one of 7 tracks both MotoGP and World Superbikes in 2025. And in 4th flyway race, it was plain sailing on the Adriatic coast for Marco Bezzecchi in the sprint. With his Grand Prix glory, the home crowd favourites craving for from pole. It's time to race in MotoGP. So located nearby the beach towns of Rimini, Vecchione and Cattolica lies the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, 4.226 kilometres in length, 2.626 miles. 32nd time Misano has hosted a Grand Prix, the first one all the way back in 1980. Pretty busy and tight first sector, including good overtaking opportunities into turns 1 and 4. The spectacular, the jaw-dropping turn 11, Cavone, one of the fastest corners on the track, leads you into sector 3. Turn 8 was one of the hardest braking zones around this Misano track. Overtaking hot spots around what's a relatively tight layout, well, there's plenty of them. This was last year the Emilia-Romagna Grand Prix, a last lap thriller, an aggressive move by Enea Bastianini on Jorge Martin. So starting from pole position, Marco Bezzecchi on the factory Aprilia, good early start after a battle with Alex and Marc Marquez. Fabio Quartararo crashed out of contention from the front row on the factory Yamaha. At turn 6, Marc Marquez decided to make his move as he homed in on a 9th successive sprint victory. But just 9 corners later, and for the first time in 2025, the factory Ducati star crashed out of contention. And he was well set for a 15th sprint win of the season. That left Marco Bezzecchi to complete a dream Saturday for the factory Aprilia team. Bears from pole position to his first sprint win for Aprilia, his first since Assen all the way back in 2023. Coming up next though live, it is the 27 lap Grand Prix of San Marino, where we will see if Marc Marquez can get instant revenge with the Misano World Circuit. Marco Simoncelli, after he crashed out of the lead in yesterday's 13th lap sprint. A really strong crowd already gathered here on Italy's Adriatic coast. Welcome one and all to the Red Bull Grand Prix of San Marino. Welcome to the Misano World Circuit, Marco Simoncelli. But there's already been some pretty good news for fans of this historic racetrack, because it was confirmed just a few moments ago that we are going to be here until 2031 at least. There's been a contract extension signed, and the Grand Prix of San Marino and the Rimini Riviera, to give it its full title, well, we're going to be back here for at least another 5 or 6 years or so. Quite right as well, it's one of the most looked forward to Grand Prix on the schedule. Close by to the summer holiday hotspots of Vecchione, Rimini and Cattolica. And those fans, well, they are expectant. They are hopeful to see more home success after a brilliant Saturday for Marco Bezzecchi. Bit of history for Bez yesterday, becoming the first rider to take sprint wins for 2 different manufacturers. His only previous sprint success for that came all the way back halfway through our 2023 World Championship campaign at the iconic Dutch TT in Assen. It was Marco's first sprint win in 46, which has a bit of a ring to it, doesn't it, in this part of the world? Of course, we are so close to Tavullia, the hometown of 7 times MotoGP world champion, Italian icon, the home hero Valentino Rossi. We saw celebrating with Marco Bezzecchi after his sprint win here yesterday. We've only ever had one Aprilia treble. That was Maverick Vinales in Austin, Texas at the start of 2024. As there's some late well wishes from Marco Bezzecchi's family and friends as he has a sprightly jog into the back of the factory Aprilia garage. Can he add a Grand Prix victory to pole and sprint success yesterday. Well, we're back to find out, aren't we? Matt Burton Lewis should have been in the commentary box. Jack Appleyard down in pit lane. And for the first time in 2025, on a sprint Saturday, Marc Marquez fluffed his lines as he went slightly offline going into turn 15. And that was it. There was to be no 15th sprint success for Marc. There was a first sprint success of the campaign for Marco Bezzecchi and for Aprilia.
Yeah, it shows what kind of level Marc Marquez has been at this season. The silver medal was seen as failure. He didn't even achieve that yesterday as Marco Bezzecchi enjoyed his sprint success with some illustrious company, but his mentor and MotoGP Hall of Famer Valentino Rossi, joined by McLaren Formula One star Lando Norris.